So, before I get into my list of the best and worst things about the latest episode of Supergirl, I just want to take a moment to celebrate Supergirl in general, as I'm so pleased to see DC itself is doing. I can't tell you what joy it gave me at the end of the episode to see the little DC logo come up and for Supergirl to be in it. I don't know if that's new or not, but it was just so charming. And when I've been reading my comic books lately, the DC ones, yes, I still have found some DC comics that are readable. They have an ad for a digital series. I haven't picked it up yet, but I just like knowing it exists. And I think that might be one of the nicest things that Supergirl has done. It has introduced nice girls into comics. You know, for so long, comic book characters, the female ones, that had any staying power, were the bad girls, right? It's like Grease, basically. Sandy becomes like cool Sandy, right? And I actually defended that transformation in my review of Grease Live. But nevertheless, I think it's important to celebrate all different types of women because women are very versatile. So I like having this really nice, wonderful female character who's just a nice, although very complicated. I like her rage issues, but I guess what I'm saying is she's not there just to be like sexy and to be like the tough woman. I think that's really positive, and it reminds me a lot of why the Batgirl comic right now is so successful and why so many of us liked Miss Martian. And so I think that that's very important that Supergirl is doing that. So even when it has some problems, I think at the end of the day, it is making huge progress for female characters. And I continue to love Cat Grant and love Alex Danvers, and I'm starting to really like Siobhan Smythe as well. So more on her when we talk about Winn. All right, so let's get into my top five best things and top five worst things about the episode. And one of you actually wrote me and said, Grace, this episode was so good, I don't know how you're going to fill your worst list. Well, I had a couple of things that I was like, that's definitely going on the worst list. But I did have to cheat a little bit. That person was right. I had to take a couple of things and divide them to really fill out the list. So I guess that's a win for the episode. So let's get started with what I liked most about the episode. Now, I think one of the biggest deals, obviously, is the Fortress of Solitude. I had mixed feelings about the Fortress of Solitude, but I felt overall it was an improvement, which is why I put it on my best list. I liked having a little more grandeur to the episode. Usually things on this show seem a little small, so I like that. I thought it was weird being there without Clark. I'd be like, sure. It's like basically like, hey, sure, go hang out in my apartment and use all my stuff without me when I'm not there. It's cool. Jimmy, I didn't understand Lucy Lane's jealousy of his relationship with Superman until I saw that he had, unfettered access to the Fortress of Solitude. It's like, what? I thought that was really surprising. But I did like the surprise in there of a Legion ring. I was like, oh, I guess who's coming to a future episode? Which I think is a great fit with Supergirl, by the way. And then I liked that, I liked the robot there much more than Kara's mom, that AI interaction. I mean, it gets people too emotional. It's like, who should be the face of our AI? I know, a dead loved one. That's horrible. It's such a bad idea. So I much preferred the spunky robot who gave, the facts. I thought that was a much better Kryptonian Wikipedia. So I thought that was fun. Then next, Indigo actually made my best and worst list because I think she has potential, but she has not yet realized that potential. By the way, we finally figured out the mysteries to why Non is looking better because his mistress is coming. I couldn't believe that. I thought it was hilarious. He's having like a Kryptonian midlife crisis. Instead of getting a supermodel, he goes and dates a supercomputer. But I thought that, she was, yes, a ripoff of Mystique, but Mystique is such a great character, the way Bryan Singer, imagined her for live action, that the ripoff of her is cool too. So I was having a good time with that. I think it also made clear, I'm trying to make sure I don't put the worst things in the best things. We're going to talk about Indigo again when we get to the worst list. But I thought that it made clear that she would be Brainiac, just the Brainiac peoples, would be a good villain for the movies, and that perhaps that was a missed opportunity for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. They've never done Brainiac in a live-action movie, but he was just so iconic in the animated series. A really great character, and I just love Brainiac. And I also thought Indigo had some good lines. I thought the Candy Crush line was funny. I thought that was good. She's, just imagine the insult it is to a supercomputer to go to a world where that's where we use technology for. So I thought that was really funny. But then we'll talk about Indigo more when we talk about what wasn't so good about Indigo. Then the third thing I liked about the episode was when Supergirl was trying to take down that nuke. I thought that, Melissa Benoist did a great job climbing up the side of the nuke. It was very low-budget visual effects, but hey, Ex Machina just won for low-budget visual effects, so they're good. But I thought that when she was her hand was tearing away the side of the nuke like paper, and I think it was paper, but that was cool. The whole thing worked, and I just, it really, upped the tension, and I thought it was really good. Then the fourth thing that I liked about the episode was Winn, who is so coming into his own as a character. Remember when we didn't like Winn? Well, I don't know, some of you I'm sure always believed in Winn, but I disliked him quite a bit. But he's really come around. I like that he's becoming more and more like Toy Man, with the bowls of candy on his desk and everything. I think that's great, because I think that DNA is in there, and so I like seeing him trying to find it. I loved him being drafted by the DEO. One of you said, hey, Grace, you called it. I did call it. Thank you for remembering. I'm very proud of myself. I think he should move over to the DEO permanently, but then, of course, he'd have to leave Siobhan, his new girlfriend, who I think is an excellent match with him. I think she's a much better match for him than Kara, and I think also she's not only is she a great match for him, but he's a great match for her, because when she turns into Silver Banshee soon, I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for him. So I think that's fun. So I really like the way Winn is developing quite a bit. Then the final thing that I liked about the episode is that they had Alex finally come clean about killing Astra. That lie was really annoying because I don't understand why Supergirl's so upset about it. I mean, I know she loved her aunt, but she has to understand that her aunt was a murderer, not only of humans, but of Kryptonians. So I don't understand why it's so difficult for her to understand that someone was forced into killing Astra because she gave them no choice, right? I mean, I just thought it was a little ridiculous. So I appreciated that final scene, not only because Kara and Alex made up, but because Hank's looking pretty svelte. When the show first started, they put him in these horrible polos, and they didn't do the actor any favors. But now Hank, when they put him in this cool workout gear, he's looking a lot awesomer. All right, so I'm like, let's drum up a love interest for Hank. All right, so those are the things that I liked the most about the episode. Now, what did I dislike about the episode? So as I said, I had to cheat a little bit, but I came up with the 5. So the worst thing by far and away about the episode was the other side of Indigo, where she had a lot of problems. I thought that the design for Indigo, beyond just her head, was pretty horrible. Whenever they went into the wide shot and they showed that glove, you were just like, why? Who approved this? I said before that I felt it was almost becoming like an intentional gag to see how bad they could get, and I feel like this week's episode only further proved my theory. I also thought that they didn't do a good job of using a Brainiac as a villain, because it was just a typical, I want to nuke the world villain plan, right? I mean, Brainiac's supposed to be smarter than that, have, a little bit of a different motivation. I also felt that she ended up just being a physical opponent, someone else for Supergirl to punch, which has always been a problem for Superman, that his opponents always just get, boiled down to being, how can they physically challenge him? And those actually make, I think, for the least interesting Superman villains and Supergirl villains. So I thought that, they could have done a much better job with utilizing Brainiac. Why you would have a Brainiac. Then the next thing, see, this is my cheating. I had to split it up a little bit. The second thing I disliked about the episode is that I felt that the actress playing Indigo, was no Summer Glau. If you've seen Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, where Summer Glau from Firefly played a Terminator, she was amazing. You felt she was a robot. This, I felt like this was just someone clearly, dressed up, who went to either Hot Topic or Party City and got a Halloween costume and, was like, oh, pretty awesome, right? My primary goal here isn't to be a believable robot, but a hot robot. And I was like, I'm getting that. So I had a big problem with that. Then the third thing I disliked about the episode was the whole Kara and Jimmy situation. I'm getting frustrated, and I'm not even involved in this ridiculous relationship. I think that Kara, when she was like, let's just solve it together, Jimmy, I was like, Kara, I know you're upset with the DEO, but ruining Jimmy's relationship is not a good way to, fix those things or to distract yourself. I mean, she made a pretty clear decision that she was going to let Jimmy decide when he was ready to date her over Lucy, and I feel she really pushed it this episode, and I didn't think that was a cool thing to do. I mean, she kind of ended up feeling guilty about it and said, you can tell her who I am, but, she waited just long enough that it was no longer necessary. But also, when he forgot his date with Lucy, I was like, they've got to break up. This is going too far. And sure enough, they did break up. But then, that moves me to my fourth thing I just didn't like about the episode, and that's just Lucy in general. I feel that Lucy Lane, with all due respect to Jenna Dewan Tatum, is just like Lois Lane light, right? And we already kind of have a Lois Lane with Kat Grant, and I think that she's just like Lois Lane, but lesser, right? So, she takes too long to figure things out. She's unpopular and pouts about it. I mean, Lois would never do these things. So, I think she doesn't serve any purpose outside of the love triangle that she created for Jimmy and Kara. So, I kind of hope that she goes back to Metropolis now. Sorry. Just when I was starting to like her a little bit. But, I think she proved this week why she's not good to have around. Then, finally, the other thing that I didn't like about the episode was I was like, Alex, do you have superpowers or not? I'm expecting that to be a reveal. Because how was she fighting Hank in that room? I mean, I was like, is there something that depowers Martians that I don't know about? When she hit him so hard that he flipped over backwards, I was like, that's ridiculous. Come on, Alex. Alex should have to think of more creative, different ways to fight as a human going up against alien combatants, right? I'd be like, stop going so easy on me, Hank and Supergirl. You are going to really give me a false sense of security that I can take you guys down when I can't. Although, as I said before, she took down Master Jailer no problem, so I guess she does have superpowers. Although I'm wondering what's more powerful, Alex's kicks or her emotions. That actress has been called to cry on a lot lately, and to her credit, she has stepped up to the plate every single time and has never done an ugly cry and has never made you feel she was just faking it. So, and that's tough to do. But I like Alex, but I preferred Alex when she was interacting with Maxwell Lord, not when she was bringing Supergirl food and, going to pick up, Winn at the office. But, everybody has a down episode, so I'm sure she'll be back on game the next one. So overall, I had a good time watching this. I liked last week's episode a little bit better. I like these episodes when they are really cohesive and everything ties into the main story. And I felt here, last week with the justice system and how, if you can lock someone up and her mother, etc. It was very, very smart. This one, I felt, I thought that the technology hook, they had that thing about Kat saying, we can't give in to hackers because then we'll just encourage them to keep hacking. And I'm like, imagine if not Wikipedia, if WikiLeaks felt that way, it would be a very different world that we lived in right now. Don't publish it. You're only encouraging the hackers. So I have mixed feelings about Kat's stance, but I thought that the statements they made about technology were a little weak, and I thought they didn't do a good enough job, I think, weaving it throughout the show. And the non-affair thing, just when you can't get any creepier or yuckier. All right, so that's my review of the latest episode of Supergirl. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have so much fun watching this show with you. Be sure to share your own thoughts about the episode down below, and you can check out some other episodes right now.